Good evening, friends. Dr. Ghosh and Dr. Kanchan again in the studio. And this time we are here to talk about a very rare thing, which is called as seasonal affective disorder. Wow, we already have Samir Supnekar who has just joined the stream and he says, Good evening. Good evening to you, Samir, and good evening to all my listeners on the GroWill Unlockdown talk show. This is Dr. Abhik Ghosh. I am a traveler and a Nafilibata. I am a medical officer here at Lloyd's Metal and Energy Limited at Gugos. We run the GroWill Foundation, which is a voluntary youth organization based out of Nagpur. And our three pillars are nature exposure, experiential traveling, and emotional literacy. And we regularly conduct awareness sessions around these three themes. And we are looking to connect with all the nature lovers on this planet to help us achieve our big dream of growing 1 lakh modular urban jungle in various cities of India in the next 5 years by 2025. My dear friends, you have heard me talk about nature deficit disorder in the past. And you have also, if you have gone through all the videos that we have posted so far, you would have also known that I was suffering from nature deficit disorder for a very long time without my knowing it. And you must also have noted that you, the viewer, sometimes you have got mood swings and you have got some erratic behaviors, and sometimes they seem to follow trends according to seasons or months. If you have not observed this yourself, it is time now for you to start noting down these minute things in your life. But enough of sermoning from my end. It is Kanchan's show now, and the show is over to her. This is Dr. Abhik Ghosh. We are on the GroWill Unlockdown talk show, and the topic is seasonal affective disorder and sunlight. The talk will be delivered by Kanchan, and after that, I am going to tell you the actual cure of this disease. Oh, well, I cannot actually hold on to this information, and I'd like to share this at the at the outset. So, GroWill Foundation is growing a lot of food forests in various cities of India, and we are looking to connect with all volunteers to help us achieve our big dreams. If you are affected by seasonal affective disorder and if you are looking for a cure, then I invite you to join our Shramdaan teams, because sunlight and exercise is the only way to cure it apart from nature exposure. So let us hear from Kanchan. What is seasonal affective disorder? How was she affected by it? And how did she realize that she has been affected? What steps did she take to cure herself? And what tips she has for all of us? Welcome, Dr. Kanchan Nikam. She is a Ayurveda Acharya, I call her, poetess, and an amazing person and a big supporter of GroWill Foundation. I request all my viewers and listeners to share this YouTube live stream on your Facebook walls, on your WhatsApp groups, and on the amazing networks that you're on. Welcome, Kanchan. The show is over to you.
Thank you so much, sir. Good evening, everyone. Actually, it's night, but good evening, everyone. How are you all holding up? Actually, we were thinking about some other topic this Friday. It was supposed to be music or some other therapy which I have used and I have benefited from. But as they say in GOT, winters are here. Winters are finally here. So basically, why are people so scared of winters? Even the people in Game of Thrones were scared of winters. So winters are here, and there are some people who are really scared of winter. I used to be one of them. So So let us know why we are talking about SAD, that is SAD, that is Seasonal Affective Disorder. So seasonal affective disorder, that is SAD, is not just winter blues. Now let us first understand what are winter blues. Winter blues, or the feeling blue, the thing we call as feeling blue, which we simply experience during winters, which is like lack of motivation, the lack of interest to take showers, or the lack of interest to go out and run, maybe because of the simple change in the weather. It has very little to do with depression. It has very little to do with major depressive disorders. So short population, like a handful of population, a fistful of population, experiences winter blues, experience sorrow or sadness or lack of willing to do anything in winter. But yes, we cannot broadly classify it as depression. To your surprise, out of the population who experience winter blues, only 2% of the population may get diagnosed with SAD, that is Seasonal Affective Disorder. So I just hope I have made it clear that just feeling blue during winter, just having this lack of interest in doing things during winter, maybe because of your laziness or maybe because of lack of sunlight, but it cannot be broadly termed as seasonal affective disorder. So what is seasonal affective disorder then? And why it is named as seasonal affective disorder? Okay, so actually seasonal affective disorder has been renamed as depressive disorder with a seasonal pattern. These are just depressive disorders with a seasonal pattern. This depression is there throughout the year, but it is suppressed. It is not. It has not manifested itself, or it has no symptoms throughout the year. But during a special time, that is maybe winters, it may be during summers as well. But why why it occurs during summer has no particular reason. So let us focus on SAD. It has retermed as depressive disorder with seasonal pattern. That is, the person may have depression throughout the year, but during a particular time of the year, it may come up again. It may be bright, it may be expressive, it may manifest, and it may look like very severe depressive disorder. So why this happens during a particular time of the year, and what are the symptoms, are all we're going to know in the next 15 to 20 minutes. So what is this SAD actually is? The SAD, or the seasonal affective disorder, are less common in the countries away from the equator, or in the countries where the climate is hot and tropical. You might have seen the people in the Western countries, they are so excited for summers. They work on their summer bodies, and they go to the beaches and they soak themselves in the sunlight till they get tan, isn't it? This is their way of getting ample sunlight. This is their way of getting the sun therapy to prevent SAD. They might not be knowing that, but it is. Again, we will talk at the end of the session about Surya Ardha and what are the importance of Surya Ardha in our own culture. So let's get started. So seasonal affective disorder is a disorder happening to 2% of the population who experience winter blues. Now, what is the criteria? To get diagnosed with seasonal affective disorder, you must at least have had the symptoms of depression or severe depression twice at the same time for 2 consecutive years. Am I clear? I'll repeat it once again. To diagnose yourself with seasonal affective disorder, you should have the severe symptoms of depression twice for at least 2 times in 2 consecutive years. Just one time each year for 2 consecutive years. So, what happened with me, I'll share that first of all to basically understand what is SAD or seasonal affective disorder. So as I have told in my earlier sessions that I had this tendency of feeling blue during winters, and in the earlier sessions I also mentioned that someone very close to me died during winter. It was January period, and it all started since then. And I used to think that it is just some bad omen. I have stated it before. I used to think that it is bad omen and it is consequently happening to me during winters. So I was so naive and I didn't know anything about my mood shifts. I just used to think that it is a bad omen and it is just happening. So what used to happen is every time of the year, when the same period, when my relative died, when the same period used to come, I used to feel blue. This may be a coincidence, but I think something triggered me back then, and then it all started. So during the particular time, that is from November to at least March, the first or second week of March, I used to feel extremely upset. And this was the time of my exams. This was the time of my 10th board exams, 12th exams, and I used to feel extremely upset during this time. It affected everything around me, especially my attendance. The symptoms I, the symptoms I noted back then were unwillingness to do anything, included dancing, which was my favorite thing. I would just dance for 1 hour a day without anything. I'll just sing and dance because dancing is something which I deeply relate to, closely relate to. But I was unwilling to do the thing which interests me the most. That was dancing, cooking, writing, being on stage, and talking to people. Yes, during the time of the rest of the year, I am very talkative and I used to talk to a lot of people. I used to be on stage. I used to join people in activities. I used to participate in many activities. I used to dance. But during this period, this particular period of the year, I used to hide my face. I used to sleep on my bed. I used to avoid every social gathering, including marriages and family gatherings or even classes. In my first year of my graduation, I had zero attendance in January and I was summoned that where are you? I was just lying there on my bed because I didn't want to go out. And it was so severe. So in my case, I did not understand what was happening. I was just feeling that there, yes, of course, there were some trigger factors, but the trigger factors could just like a fight with a friend. And I used to think that winters are bad omens for me, and I should just consult some astrologer or something because it was, to my knowledge, it was very new, and I couldn't understand why I just feel blue during winters. So it was like almost for 5 years, I had no knowledge of what was happening, but I was suffering. It was so bad that sometimes I would get panicked at the middle of the night. I couldn't sleep, or I used to oversleep. I used to gain a lot of weight, and I used to tell everyone that I would tell everyone that I simply gain weight during winters. It was because of the lack of metabolism, the lack of synthesis of vitamin D. So, what happened when I was in the early phase of my third year? After talking to a lot of people I used to consider friends, after talking to everyone and everyone just not understanding what is happening to me, I started researching more and more about it. And I just entered one thing in Google, that Why do I feel very bad during winters? And you'll be surprised that I never Googled it because I used to think that this is not even possible. Why would someone feel depressed during a certain period of time of the year? And I used to tell everyone that I'm very difficult, but I'm very good during the whole 10 or 8 or 10 months of the year. But I'm very difficult during 2 to 4 months of the year, which are winters or the late winters. I used to tell people that I am like a tree which shades its leaves during autumn. When the tree used to shade its leaves, I used to just compare it to myself. We will come back on that as well. So during that time, I googled and I found that yes, there is something called a seasonal affective disorder, and I was surprised. And that day, I was very very happy. Happy because I got to know that yes, there is a reason for whatever is happening to me, and there is a cure, and there are million other people with the same disease who don't even know that they are depressed. That is the worst case scenario. People don't even observe themselves. People have zero observation skills, and they do not even acknowledge that something is happening to them. So I cannot see the chat, but after this introduction, we'll definitely come to the chat and questions. So seasonal affective disorder was then, to my knowledge, uh, it was difficult to accept that I was suffering through something and I didn't even know. You might also feel winter blues, or you might feel severely affected during winters. So you should definitely acknowledge it right now, today. The symptoms are feeling worthlessness. I used to feel that, oh my God, I'm worthless. Why am I alive? The existential crisis, it was there. The second was guilt. I was guilty for everything. I was guilty for eating, for not eating, for taking medicines, for not taking medicines, for doing this, for choosing that. Guilty for almost everything I do. Lack of enjoyment in the things I used to do. Like I used to dance. I'm not talking here about me, but the generalized symptoms. You should have two or three of these symptoms and one major symptom. I had one major symptom that I didn't want to get out of my bed and I didn't want to move my hand. Even moving my hand, doing things was difficult back then because I used to feel blue. So it must occur at least twice for 2 consecutive years, matlab once each year for 2 consecutive years. For me, this happened for around 8 years. So symptoms may diminish with the beginning of new season, but if it gets worse, it may result in feeling suicidal, and that is the worst case scenario. And people have killed themselves more in winters or during winters, particularly in the November-December season. So if you're staying at some other end of the world, which is the Western countries, you may experience seasonal affective disorder during October, September, November, and December as well. But if you're living away from the equator in countries like India, countries which are more exposed to sunlight, you may experience these symptoms during late winters. So we have now known what is seasonal affective disorder and why you shouldn't just diagnose yourself with seasonal affective disorder. You may be just having winter blues. What are the symptoms of seasonal affective disorder? And now we will come up to how to better understand seasonal affective disorder and how to cure it. So, the best treatment for seasonal affective disorder can be understood only after knowing why seasonal affective disorder happens to us at the first place. Aren't you intrigued by the fact that why this happens? Is there something wrong with the body? Is there something wrong with the mind? As we all know that mental and physical health are closely interrelated and interlinked. We cannot separate them both. So you must be intrigued, isn't it? That why these seasonal affective disorder happen to people. I used to tell people who are very close to me, like my mother, that I don't feel better during winters. And she used to tell me that it is because you are kamchor. A person who is like engaged in some kind of work can never feel depressed or bad. You should just get moving. She was right. She may be right. I should have got moving. But I didn't want to move my hand at the first place. It was not that I didn't want to, it was that I couldn't. I didn't feel like going out, I didn't feel like talking to people. Normally, I was active, but during this time of the year, I was not. I was completely inactive. And yes, I can see someone willing to talk. Yes, sir.
Dr. Kanchan, there's a very interesting point which you just mentioned that
Yes, sir.
movement.
Mhm.
Is this seasonal affective disorder also because of lack of movement?
Yes, sir. It is because of lack of exercise. It is not because of lack of exercise actually, but it can be cured with lack of exercise. It can be bettered with lack of exercise. With
So
sorry,
basically,
constant
exercise, if
exercise.
you do exercise, so you will be cured of it if you are doing it in the sunlight. ठीक है. Great. So let's move on with the session. I think in the next part of the session, Kanchan is going to cover what are the symptoms. उसके ऊपर थोड़ा सा डिटेल में हम लोग थोड़ा बात करते हैं क्योंकि many people may not be able to understand कि ये उनको हुआ है कि because mood swings are very common. Cosmic मेरे को भी होते हैं mood swing बहुत बार. But then, can we really attribute these mood swings to seasonal affective disorder? In fact, one of our mentors, Dr. Praveer Varadkar, also mentioned me when I sent him your poster that this is not happening in India. So I feel that if you are so sanguine कि ये आपको हुआ था, and I'm sure हुआ होगा क्योंकि you are saying it live on YouTube. So that definitely means that you have had it and you have realized it yourself and you have done something for it. So I'm sure कि बहुत लोगों को पता नहीं होगा, रिसर्च हुआ ही नहीं है. So what to do about it? कैसे इसको पता करना और कैसे एक बार हमें पता चल गया तो किसके पास जाना कंफर्मेशन के लिए और फाइनली इसको क्योर कैसे करना. श्रमदान भी हेल्प करता है क्या? ट्री प्लांटेशन, लिविंग इन हार्मनी विथ नेचर, ये सब चीजों के बारे में थोड़ा सा डिटेल में आपको आप हमें समझाइए क्योंकि हमारे जो लिसनर्स है वो सारे एंथुजियास्टिक है अबाउट ट्री प्लांटेशन फॉर ग्रोविल प्रोजेक्ट्स एंड हम चाहते हैं कि ट्री प्लांटेशन करते करते उनके बाकी सारे चीजें ठीक हो जाए. सो व्हाट डू यू?
Sure, sir. First of all, the fact that it cannot happen in Asian countries is completely unbelievable for me. But it may not be in the records, but I was someone who had no idea about mental disorders, not a single clue about what is happening to me. I was just suffering every winter, and there were many like me. To your surprise, there was a friend who used to be terribly ill during rainy seasons, and she used to feel it a lot. In the beginning of the winter, she used to feel a lot. She is Indian, and there were people who used to feel winter blues. But as I have told you, you shouldn't directly diagnose yourself with seasonal affective disorder just on the basis of feeling blue during winters. First of all, it should happen once in a year for 2 consecutive years during the late winters or the autumn season. Secondly, in the areas away from the equator, which is India and Asian subcontinent, the South Asia, it may happen during late winters. And why? We will know it shortly. In the areas, in the Western countries, the areas closer to the equator, it may happen in early winters. So this is the fact about seasonal affective disorder known to my understanding. So basically, I did not know that something like this exists, and I was not calling for it actually. So what happened is I had the symptoms, reoccurring symptoms, to lowered vitamin D levels because of the season following rainy season, since there is no sunlight for 4 5 months. Yes, sir, we will definitely come to that. But as the point is up here, I'd like to tell you that what happens during the late winters when the CSADs usually occur in people. It is the time when the sources, your body sources, the storage of vitamin D gets depleted because there is very low sunlight during 4 5 years. The mornings, the sunrise time is late and the sunset time is early. The days are short. Plus, there is less exposure to sunlight. People won't go out and stand in the sunlight for like from 12 to 3 p.m. It will give them sunburn and many kind of cancer. So people do not usually get up and go out in the sunlight in the early morning in winters. So this is because lack of vitamin D. But why this happens? There are many reasons. The first is the circadian rhythm. When the circadian rhythm gets disturbed, there is there is a lack of melanin production. So what happens with
So that is
circadian?
melatonin. It is melatonin,
Sorry.
not
Oh,
melanin.
sorry, sir. Yeah, melanin is the pigment on your skin. So I also wanted to tell you that do not go out in the sun till your melanin just comes out and you become tan, because that may result in skin cancer. So melatonin is a hormone which regulates your sleep and sleep cycle. So what happens when the circadian rhythm get disturbed? When the sleep phase gets disturbed, when the melatonin secretion gets disturbed, you may find it difficult to sleep during night. You may find it difficult to get up. Your sleep cycle may get completely also is prevents of sad reduced during January May season due to bright sunlight, especially India. Sir, I don't know about January, but I definitely feel very better during April. It is till the mid of the March. Uh, it is late in India or the Indian subcontinent because it is away from the equator. The Indian subcontinent is quite away from the equator, and the sun cycle is different here as compared to the rest of the world, especially the Western world.
डॉक्टर कांचन, हमारे शो में बहुत सारे लोग हिंदी भाषा वाले भी हैं
Okay.
एंड मैं आपको रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि हमारे हिंदी लिसनर्स के लिए आप ये
Mm-hmm.
कॉन्सेप्ट जो अभी तक आपने बताया है इसका एक
Mm-hmm.
समरी प्रेजेंट करिए हिंदी में और
Okay.
उसके बाद में आप जो मेलेटोनिन के बारे में एग्जैक्टली जो बोल रहे थे और
Mm-hmm.
उस पार्ट को थोड़ा सा डिटेल में और समझाइए ताकि सब
Okay.
लोगों को बहुत अच्छे से ये बात को उनके जहन में चले जाए और हर कोई अपने अपने डेली रूटीन में छोटे छोटे नोटिंग्स अगर करते रहे कहीं यहाँ कहीं वहां और खुद के चीजों को अगर ध्यान देते जाए तो वी कैन कम टू नो अबाउट अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स अबाउट आवरसेल्व्स सो
Okay.
कंचन थोड़ा सा एक हिंदी में समरी हो जाता है अभी एक सेशन करीब आधा घंटा हो रहा है since there are very few listeners to this live session आपके questions हमें आज ज्यादा नहीं मिल रहे हमें
Sure.
हमारे व्यूअर्स के मन में अगर कोई भी सवाल आपको अगर आए ये सेशन को बाद में जब आप रिकॉर्डिंग फॉर्म में देखोगे और आपको अगर आए तो हमारा नंबर व्हाट्सएप का स्क्रीन पे चल रहा है आप उसे यूज करें और आपके सवाल करें हमारे ट्री प्लांटेशन के श्रमदान में भी ज्वाइन करें ग्रोविल फाउंडेशन आपके शहर में है and you can become a member of GroWill Foundation in your city. So Kanchan is
Yeah.
back again and चलो ठीक है let's get on with the show.
So हिंदी में अगर बात करें तो अब तक जो हमने देखा वो था एसएडी. एसएडी इज सीजनल अफेक्टिव डिसऑर्डर जो एक पूरे साल के एक पर्टिकुलर टाइम में, एक स्पेसिफिक टाइम में, एक सीजन में होता है, स्पेशली लेट विंटर्स में, जब जाड़ा बहुत ज्यादा होता है और जब जब समर शुरू होने वाले होते हैं तब ये होता है। ये हो सकता है विटामिन डी की डेफिशिएंसी से, उसके साथ साथ ही सर्काडियन रिदम के डिस्टर्बेंस से। इसके इसके साथ साथ ये जेनेटिकल भी हो सकता है, बट जस्ट 2% जेनेटिकल एक्सपोजर इसे है। सो इसके साथ साथ हम देख रहे थे कि लाइट किस तरह से हेल्प करता है। लाइट यानी सूर्य की किरणें जो हमारी बॉडी को नेचुरली विटामिन डी देती है, उसके साथ साथ वो और क्या करती है ये हम यहाँ देखेंगे। तो सर्काडियन रिदम और मेलेटोनिन का क्या रिलेशन है ये हम अभी देखेंगे। तो बेसिकली सर्काडियन रिदम इज योर बॉडीज रिदम, जिससे जिससे हमें पता चलता है कि अभी सुबह हुई है, हमें भूख लगी है, अभी शाम हुई है। हमें जो नेचुरल सेंसेस होते हैं वो सर्काडियन रिदम के कारण होते हैं। तो शॉर्टली हम इसे इतना ही देख सकते हैं क्योंकि वी हैव लिमिटेड अमाउंट ऑफ टाइम। उसके साथ साथ मेलेटोनिन एक ऐसा हार्मोन है जो जो हमारे हाइपोथैलेमस में सीक्रेट होता है, जिसके कारण हाइपोथैलेमस में एक छोटा सा सेंटर है, ये स्टिम्युलेट करके सेरोटोनिन नाम का एक हार्मोन सिक्रीट करता है। मेलेटोनिन एक हार्मोन है जो हाइपोथैलेमस के एक छोटे से पार्ट में स्टिमुलेशन रिलीज करके सेरोटोनिन रिलीज कराता है वाया पिट्यूटरी ग्लैंड। So this is basically a complex physiology. We won't go to there. Melatonin.
तो बेसिकली ये जो मुन्ना भाई एमबीबीएस में दिमाग में केमिकल लोचा हुआ है, क्या बात करते हैं उसी के ये कंपोनेंट्स है। अगर हम थोड़ा सा लेमैन्स लैंग्वेज में आप लोगों को समझाने की कोशिश करें तो, और बेसिकली 4-5 न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर्स होते हैं जो हमारे ब्रेन में होते हैं, जिसके बारे में कंचन ने दो न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर्स के बारे में बताया। एक और है डोपामिन, सेरोटोनिन, एंडोर्फिन। ये सारे न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर्स है आपके ब्रेन के अंदर, जिसके लेवल्स ऊपर नीचे होने से आपको मूड स्विंग्स होता है। सो अगर आप इसके बारे में थोड़ा डिटेल में जानना चाहे तो आपको थोड़ा ब्रेन के फिजियोलॉजी को समझना पड़ेगा, जो अभी कंचन आई एम श्योर ये टॉक शो के बाहर, ये स्कोप के बाहर है। अगर हमारे व्यूअर्स को मन में ये सवाल आ रहा है और आप ऑटो डायग्नोज नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, तो आप हमें हमारे नंबर पे कांटेक्ट कर सकते हैं और हम आपको हेल्प करेंगे, पूरी कोशिश करेंगे। चलिए, ओके कंचन, लेट्स मूव ऑन।
जहां तक पॉसिबल हो ऑटो डायग्नोस ना भी करे, बात करे किसी प्रोफेशनल से। लेकिन जहां तक मेरी केस थी, I was like 1000% sure that something was fishy because it was not normal and it was
कंचन,
way
हिंदी
away
में
from
अपन
normal.
हिंदी में बात करते हैं,
हाँ
हिंदी में
जी।
बात करते हैं कंचन, ठीक
तो
है?
इसके बाद
विल स्टिक टू हिंदी।
ओके। इसके बाद हम देखते हैं कि किस तरह से सर्काडियन रिदम से बॉडी डिस्टर्ब होती है। सबसे पहले हमारे आंखों थ्रू, हमारे रेटिना थ्रू सिग्नल जो है हाइपोथैलेमस में जाते हैं। वहां से स्टिमुलेशंस होने के बाद पिट्यूटरी जो है सेरोटोनिन नाम का एक न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर या जो हार्मोन है उसे रिलीज करता है। एंड सेरोटोनिन एंड डोपामाइन आर टू ऑफ द हैप्पी हार्मोन्स, तो जो हमें खुश या उदास करने में बहुत बड़ा रोल प्ले करते हैं, एक बहुत बड़ा योगदान देते हैं। तो बेसिकली इस तरह से सर्काडियन सिस्टम जब विंटर्स में डिस्टर्ब होता है, आंखों को लाइट से ज्यादा एक्सपोजर नहीं होता है, स्किन को लाइट से ज्यादा एक्सपोजर नहीं होता है, तब एसएडी की संभावनाएं बढ़ जाती है। उसके साथ साथ ही विटामिन डी थ्री जिसे हम कोलेकैल्सिफेरॉल भी कहते हैं, जो डायरेक्ट सनलाइट के एक्सपोजर से होता है, यूवी रेस से हमारे बॉडी में स्टिमुलेट होता है। अगर उसकी डेफिशिएंसी यानी उसकी कमतरता हमारे बॉडी में हो, तो उसकी कमी के कारण हमें बहुत सारे अलग डिसऑर्डर हो सकते हैं। नॉट जस्ट टॉकिंग अबाउट मेंटल डिसऑर्डर्स एंड डिप्रेशन, बट अदर काइंड ऑफ डिसीजेस, बहुत सारी और बीमारियां जैसे कि कैंसर भी हमें हो सकती है। सो बहुत ज्यादा सूर्य की किरणों से बचे, क्योंकि उससे भी स्किन कैंसर होता है। इसलिए ये बहुत जरूरी है कि हम समझे कि कब सूर्य की किरणों से एक्सपोज होना है और किस टाइम पर नहीं होना है। तो सुबह सुबह जो सूर्य की किरणें होती है, जिसे हमारे कल्चर में हम सूर्य को अर्घ देना कहते हैं, जो 6 बजे से 8 बजे के बीच में दिया जाता है, सनराइज का टाइम होता है, तो एटलीस्ट 15 मिनट तक, 15 मिनट तक के सूर्य को एक्सपोज होना जरूरी है। हर इंसान अगर 15 मिनट तक सूर्य को एक्सपोज होता है, सूर्य किरणों को एक्सपोज होता है, बाहर धूप में जाता है, सुबह की पहली धूप में, तो उस इंसान को काफी तरह की बीमारियों से राहत मिल सकती है। अभी हम डायरेक्टली जंप कर रहे हैं सनलाइट के बेनिफिट्स पर, बिकॉज हमें टाइम लिमिटेशंस है। इसके साथ साथ हमेशा नेचर में रहना, यानी हमेशा प्रकृति के आजू बाजू रहने से, सूर्य की किरणों से, पानी से, रंगों से, जमीन से भी काफी सारी बीमारियों का इलाज संभव है। इट इज कॉल्ड एज फोटोथेरेपी और क्रोमोथेरेपी। बहुत सारे आकर्षक रंगों को देखने से आपकी मानसिक अवस्था जो है पहले से बेहतर हो सकती है। तो जहां तक हम अभी यहाँ आए हैं, तो अभी इसे कंक्लूड करते हैं एक बार कि हमने अभी तक के क्या क्या देखा है। सबसे पहले हमने देखा विंटर ब्लू, यानी जाड़े में उदासीनता जो आती है उसके बारे में। दूसरी बार हमने देखा कि विंटर ब्लू और सीजनल अफेक्टिव डिसऑर्डर में क्या फर्क है, और जरूरी नहीं कि आपको विंटर ब्लू है इसलिए आपको सीजनल अफेक्टिव डिसऑर्डर भी है। द थर्ड पार्ट वाज इसके सिम्टम्स, ये क्या क्या सिम्टम्स होते हैं, कैसी कैसे इंटेंसिटी होती है, साल में कितने बार होता है, और इसे कैसे डायग्नोस करें, ये हमने अभी देखा है। उसके बाद हमने देखा है कि क्यों होता है। ये होता है सूर्य की किरणों से, साल में कब होता है, सर्काडियन रिज्म के डिस्टर्बेंस से, उसके बाद लैक ऑफ विटामिन D3 से। देर आर मेनी अदर फैक्टर, मतलब बहुत सारी और चीजें भी है जो इसे इन्फ्लुएंस करेंगी, जैसे कि गलत खाना पीना, जैसे कि घर में ही बैठे रहना, जैसे कि जब आपकी इच्छा नहीं होती तब कुछ भी ना करना, ये उसे और ज्यादा प्रभावित करेगा। अकॉर्डिंग टू आयुर्वेदा के हिसाब से गंदे मैले कपड़े पहनना, ना नहाना, एक ही जगह पर बैठे रहना, बिस्तर से चिपके रहना और साफ सफाई ना रखना, जो कि हम विंटर्स में जनरली करते हैं, 3 3 दिन ना नहाना, कपड़े वही पहने रहना, ये सारी चीजें कैन लीड टू मेनी मेंटल डिसऑर्डर्स। अस्वच्छता, असूची और डर्टीनेस, लैक ऑफ हाइजीन, नॉट बीइंग टाइडी may lead to many other disorders according to Ayurveda. So this is also one of the many important reasons कि हमें SAD नाम का ये रोग पकड़ सकता है। So let's move forward. अभी हम देखते हैं इससे बचा कैसे जाए, इसे पूरी तरह ठीक करना या नहीं करना, ये हो सकता है या नहीं हो सकता है, ये अभी भी डिस्प्यूटेड ही है, ये अभी भी कंट्रोवर्शियल है। इस टॉपिक के बारे में मैं ज्यादा बात नहीं करूंगी, क्योंकि जरूरी नहीं सीजनल अफेक्टिव डिसऑर्डर सिर्फ विंटर्स में हो। मेरी एक फ्रेंड है, मेरी एक दोस्त है, जिसे ये बारिश के मौसम में भी एक्सपीरियंस करने मिलता है, और कंटिन्यूसली 6 7 साल से वो इसे एक्सपीरियंस कर रही है, जिसका कोई जवाब नहीं है। इसके साथ साथ साइंस अब तक इस बात पर रिसर्च कर रहा है कि जो लोगों को समर यानी धूप काल में ये सीजनल अफेक्टिव डिसऑर्डर गर्मियों के ड्यूरेशन में होते हैं, वो क्यों होते हैं, इसका भी कोई अभी तक के पर्टिकुलर जवाब नहीं है। तो अब हम चलते हैं इसकी इलाज की तरफ, या क्या चीजें हैं जिससे जानने से हम इससे बच सकते हैं। सबसे पहला तो आज का हमारा इम्पोर्टेंट टॉपिक है सनलाइट। सनलाइट के कई फायदे हैं, जो आप गूगल करें तो आपको इस तरह से बहुत सारे 15 बेनिफिट्स ऑफ सनलाइट, 20 बेनिफिट्स ऑफ सनलाइट, ये सब देखने मिलेगा। बट इफ आप गौर से देखें, जो हमारे कल्चर है उसने हमें एक्सपोज किया है सनलाइट से, जो हम सूर्यार्घ देते हैं सुबह सुबह, उस टाइम पे हम एटलीस्ट 10 to 15 मिनट तक के सनलाइट और सन चार्ज्ड वाटर से एक्सपोज होते हैं। हम वापस जाकर पानी के बारे में ज्यादा बात नहीं कर सकते हैं अभी, क्योंकि टाइम लिमिटेशंस है, बट पानी इज कॉल्ड एज लिक्विड मेमोरी कार्ड और लिक्विड कंप्यूटर, क्योंकि वो फ्रीक्वेंसीज और मेमोरीज स्टोर करता है। सन चार्ज वाटर और सनलाइट के एक्सपोजर को अगर हम ध्यान से समझे कि ये कल्चर में क्यों है, तो यू विल गेट टू नो दैट इट इज फॉर विटामिन डी, इट इज फॉर बेटर फीलिंग बेटर, इट इज फॉर बेटर स्किन, इट इज फॉर प्रिवेंटिंग मेनी डिसऑर्डर्स। उसी के साथ साथ आपने एक डिसीज का नाम यानी एक बीमारी का नाम शुरू सुना होगा जिसे ऑस्टियोपोरोसिस कहते हैं। ऑस्टियोपोरोसिस के केसेस इंडिया में दिन बाय दिन बढ़ रहे हैं, डे बाय डे दे आर जस्ट इंक्रीजिंग। It is because of people are choosing to stay in ACs and homes and not going out in sunlight. लोगों को लगता है सूरज में जाने से हम काले पड़ जाएंगे, इस सूरज में जाने से हमें कोई तरह की बीमारी हो जाएगी, तो people are not literally going out, especially महिलाएं। एक ह्यूज ग्रुप ऑफ महिलाएं, एक बहुत बड़ा समूह है जो घर में रहना पसंद करता है, गाड़ियों में घूमना पसंद करता है, और अगर वो धूप में जाता भी है या जाना पड़ता भी है तो सनस्क्रीन अप्लाई करता है, जिसके कारण ऑस्टियोपोरोसिस यानी हड्डियों का ठिसुर होना, ये एक बीमारी बहुत ज्यादा बढ़ रही है। तो ऑस्टियोपोरोसिस इतना डेंजरस हो सकता है कि अगर किसी को ऑस्टियोपोरोसिस है और तुम उसका हाथ इस तरह भी करो तो उसकी बोन ब्रेक हो जाएगी। ऑस्टियोपोरोसिस मतलब हड्डियों का बिल्कुल मैसूर पाक की तरह स्ट्रक्चर बनना, दैट इज कॉल्ड एज ऑस्टियोपोरोसिस। ऑस्टियो मतलब हड्डी और पोरोसिस मतलब उनमें पोर्स का जनरेशन, मतलब छोटी छोटी जालीदार गड्ढों का जनरेशन। इट इज जस्ट लाइक मैसूर पाक, द स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ बोन just get less dense. The density of the bones decreases with age due to lack of sunlight. And why it is due to lack of sunlight? Because bones बनी है कैल्शियम से, और कैल्शियम के बॉडी में एब्जॉर्प्शन के लिए जरूरी है विटामिन D3, जो हमारी बॉडी में नहीं बनता है, जैसे हमें सनलाइट से ही लेना जरूरी है। प्लस देयर आर सप्लीमेंट्स लाइक दिस, ऐसे सप्लीमेंट्स होते हैं जो हम लेते हैं, इसके साथ साथ आते हैं इसके साइड इफेक्ट्स भी, और इसका जो एब्जॉर्प्शन है वो 100% नहीं है। So better way to go in the sun and get exposed to the sun for at least 15 minutes thrice a week. So this was all about sunlight. Now let us know कि हम seasonal affective disorder को क्या-क्या तरीकों से ठीक कर सकते हैं, या क्या-क्या तरीके हैं जिससे seasonal affective disorder को कम किया जा सकता है, उसकी जो इंटेंसिटी है उसे कम किया जा सकता है। तो जैसे कि मैंने आपको बताया था, जैसा एक पेड़ होता है वो बारिश में काफी खिलता है, काफी हरा भरा हो जाता है, लेकिन फिर जब जनवरी फरवरी आती है तब उसकी पत्तियां पीली होने लगती है। जब बारिश और विंटर्स तक उसमें बहुत फल लगे होते हैं, वो बहुत हरा भरा होता है, अपनी पूरे साल की अपनी सबसे अच्छी स्टेट में होता है, उसके बाद पतझड़ आता है। सेम उसी तरह सीजनल अफेक्टिव डिसऑर्डर भी काम करता है। सो आई यूज्ड टू लुक एट ट्रीज, मैं पेड़ों की तरफ देख के ये सोचा करती थी कि जब पेड़ों की पत्तियां झड़ती है तब मुझे भी बुरा लगता है, मतलब मेरा भी वो मेंटल स्टेट डिस्टर्ब होता है। सो आई यूज्ड टू कोरिलेट इट एंड आई फाउंड अ वेरी क्लोज लिंक। सो बेसिकली जब हम नेचर के साथ कोरिलेट करने की कोशिश करते हैं तब हमें पता चलेगा कि हम बिल्कुल वैसे हैं जैसा नेचर है। इस यूनिवर्स में हर चीज एक स्पेसिफिक फ्रीक्वेंसी पे वाइब्रेट होती है, एक स्पेसिफिक फ्रीक्वेंसी पे एक एनर्जी रिलीज करती है। So to understand that, you'll have to understand nature deficit disorder, and yes, surely we will take this topic, nature deficit disorder. मेरा कोरिलेशन उन पेड़ों से बहुत क्लोज था, जब मुझे कोई आइडिया भी नहीं थी कि ये क्यों हो रहा है, तब आई यूज्ड टू लुक एट ट्रीज एंड आई यूज्ड टू जस्ट अंडरस्टैंड कि जब इनकी पत्तियां पूरी झड़ती है, ये जब से ब्रांचेस रह जाते हैं और कोई होप नहीं होती, ऐसा लगता है कि सब खत्म हो गया। सेम मेरे साथ सिम्टम्स ऐसे ही तरह से डेवलप हो रहे थे, और जब उसमें छोटी छोटी पत्तियां शुरू होती है आना मार्च के टाइम पे, तब आई यूज्ड टू फील बेटर, मुझे बेहतर लगना शुरू होता था। If SAD is occurred in summer, can it be related to electrolyte imbalance? I'm very unsure about it. Even science is thinking about it, why SAD occurs in summer. But when there is electrolyte imbalance, you're more like disturbed than depressed. You're more like in the stage of hypnosis, or you behave very confused, or you feel like you are in delusion when there is electrolyte imbalance. So I have no specific idea if it is electrolyte imbalance. Even science is researching about it. But I'd like to tell you that when there is electrolyte imbalance, you feel more delusional. You feel confused instead of being depressed. So this was the case. Now again, there are ways to get a little help with SAD. So there are this type of cures for SAD. The first one is identify. Identify and acknowledge that you have something which affects your mood during winter. If you don't know that you have something, and uh, you'll just keep on suffering, you won't even feel the need to seek help, then it's definitely not going to help and it's going to worsen. सबसे पहले पहचानिए कि हमें एसएडी है या विंटर ब्लू है, हमारे सिम्टम्स कैसे हैं, बहुत ज्यादा है या नहीं, साल में कितनी बार है, कौन से टाइम पे है, कितने साल से कंटिन्यू है, ये सारी चीजें जानना. उसके बाद एक मेंटल हेल्थ प्रोफेशनल से बात करना बहुत जरूरी है. मेरे केस में आई हैड IBS generated out of depression happening during winters, and I got diagnosed by a gastroenterologist. So this was the case. दूसरी चीज है सनलाइट, जिसके बारे में अभी हमने काफी बात की. सनलाइट एंड स्पेशली विटामिन D3. विटामिन D3 से आपकी स्किन, आपका आपका ओवरऑल आपका ओवरऑल मेटाबॉलिज्म और बहुत सारी बीमारियों से छुटकारा भी मिल सकता है. उसके साथ साथ ही विटामिन D3 आपको हमेशा खुश रहने में भी हेल्प करेगा. कहते हैं ना कि बी योर ओन सनलाइट. दैट इज इट. सनलाइट may release happy hormones in your body. So the third thing is talk to a person, but you should have this sensible and understanding person. To be very honest, the people I used to talk to used to laugh on me. ऐसा कुछ नहीं रहता, ऐसा कुछ नहीं रहता कि किसी को सिर्फ विंटर्स में ऐसा फील हो तो कुछ भी बोलती है, तो कुछ भी करती है, and they did not used to listen to me. But fortunately, you always have people who will understand you, who will at least listen to you. So talk to someone who understands it. If not, then go for a therapy to seek a mental health professional's help. Then again, if you don't have these sensible people, just don't talk to them at all, because they are going to make fun of you and you'll feel worse. So be your own sunshine at this time and seek a mental health professional. The fourth thing is the sleep cycle.
यहाँ पे मैं एक चीज ऐड करना चाहूंगा. मेंटल हेल्थ प्रोफेशनल की जब बात करते हैं तो ग्रोविल फाउंडेशन में दो बहुत अमेजिंग लोग हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए हैं. डॉक्टर प्रांजल डांगे, एशियन कैंसर इंस्टीट्यूट बॉम्बे की ऑन्कोसाइकोलॉजिस्ट है. शी हैज टेकन सेशंस ऑन आवर टॉक शो बिफोर. एंड डॉक्टर प्रवीर वराडकर, जिन्होंने मेंटल हेल्थ के ऊपर एक मतलब मेंटल डिजीजेस के ऊपर एक वॉर छेड़ दिया है. और उन्होंने मेंटल हेल्थ मंथ खत्म होने के बाद में ये अनाउंस किया हमारे टॉक शो पे कि वो मेंटल हेल्थ ईयर मना रहे हैं. और हमारे शो पे वो बहुत अमेजिंग सीरीज ऑफ टॉक्स मेंटल हेल्थ से रिलेटेड वो लेके आ रहे हैं. तो इन दोनों को अगर आपको कांटेक्ट करना है तो अगेन मेरे नंबर पे आप कॉल करिए एंड आई विल कनेक्ट यू टू दीज अमेजिंग पीपल. ओके कंचन.
Yes, definitely. And as I know very little about psychology, I won't talk about the antidepressant medicines over here, because I have no specific knowledge about the antidepressant medicines. So they are the best form of treatment, but I will not recommend this in my talk. So yes, definitely you should see a mental health professional. Then therapies, cognitive behavioral therapy, that may help. Now let us see one more amazing thing, that is music. Yes, music may help you feel better. And the kind of music you should listen is whatever you like. Yes, whatever you like and whatever kind of music you like to listen, you should listen to feel better. There is a very essential thing that is sleep. Yes, if you regulate your sleep cycle, if you get up early and if you sleep earlier and get up earlier and expose yourself to sunlight, you may feel better. For that, hypnotherapy is very helpful. I'd again like to mention one little thing, which is pista or pistachios. Pista is a nut which helps in melatonin secretion. Just 4 to 5 pistas before bed may release melatonin like one sleeping pill. Yes, if you eat one fist of pista, it will be like 10 sleeping pills. So you will feel very sleepy after eating pista. You can try it, pistachios. So this was all about the seasonal affective disorder or SADs, where I have mentioned the phototherapy and chromotherapy. So क्रोमोथेरेपी के बारे में थोड़ा और जानते हैं. Chromotherapy is therapy through colors. So during winters, I just pick different type of colors, chart papers of different type of colors in my room everywhere, and I feel really bright. It has helped me. I have read about chromotherapy. I have done one diploma in therapies like phototherapy, chromotherapy, naturopathy. So yes, chromotherapy literally helps. Talking to a nice person helps. Sunlight helps. Sensibility helps. And when you don't feel like doing anything, then doing anything and defeating SAD, that too helps. But first and the foremost important thing is, पहले जानिए कि आपको winter blue है या seasonal affective disorder है. It is again a very rare kind of disorder. So there is very less knowledge about seasonal affective disorder. So this was all about seasonal affective disorder, जो कि लेट विंटर्स में भी होता है और कभी कभी समर्स में भी होता है, लेकिन ये समर्स में क्यों होता है इसकी नॉलेज अब तक साइंटिस्ट को भी नहीं है. दिस वाज ऑल अबाउट द सीजनल अफेक्टिव डिसऑर्डर. ये कैसे होता है, ये क्या है, इसके सिम्टम्स क्या है, इसको ठीक कैसे करें, और सनलाइट का इम्पोर्टेंस, हमारे कल्चर में सूर्य अर्घ देने की प्रथा और इसका इम्पोर्टेंस. यहाँ पे आई कंक्लूड.
थैंक यू सो मच कंचन. ये आज का जो टॉपिक था, टू बी रियली ऑनेस्ट विथ यू, मेरे तो सर के ऊपर से बाउंसर गया एंड इट वाज रियली इंटरेस्टिंग टू नो कि सीजन्स का हमारे लाइफ के ऊपर कितना इफेक्ट होता है. ये तो हमें पता ही है, लेकिन इमोशनल एस्पेक्ट ऑफ आवर लाइफ के ऊपर सीजन कैसे अफेक्ट करता है, ये आज हमने कंचन से जाना. इसके सिम्टम्स के बारे में हमने थोड़ा सा टच किया, मैं बोलूंगा आज, क्योंकि ये एक बहुत वास्ट टॉपिक है जो बहुत अच्छे से स्टडीड है ही नहीं. तो उसके ऊपर में आज हम लोगों ने एक्चुअली कंचन जो प्रेजेंट किया है इज प्रोबेबली जस्ट सेल्फ रियलाइजेशंस. हम लोग डेफिनेटली ये मैसेज इस टॉक शो के माध्यम से नहीं कन्वे करना चाहते हैं कि whatever you have just heard about SAD is the final word on it. No, it is not. We are also in the process of learning, and both of us are very candid to admit that we are experiencing various things in our lives, and we are noting them down, and we are making correlations here and there because both of us are very keen observers of things around us. एंड जो चीजों को हमारे लाइफ में हमने एक्सपीरियंस किया है, हम वही इन टॉक शोज के माध्यम से आप लोगों के सामने लेके आ रहे हैं. एंड दीज आर ऑल पॉइंटर्स. मतलब दिस इज नॉट ए मेडिकल एडवाइस. ये सेशन कोई मेडिकल एडवाइस आपको नहीं दे रहा है. इनफैक्ट कंचन, हम लोग हमेशा सेशन स्टार्ट करने के पहले अगली बार से ये डिस्क्लेमर देना जरूरी रहेगा.
I'd like to add one more thing, sir.
Okay.
Especially जैसा कि मैंने कहा, ये वो सारे सिम्टम्स थे जो मैंने एक्सपीरियंस किए. Then again, I was diagnosed. बाकायदा I was diagnosed. So I am just sharing whatever I have felt. I was diagnosed with IBS, that is irritable bowel syndrome, and depression at the same time. When I told the consultant that this was the kind of symptoms I was having. So I was bakaida diagnosed after knowing that I had SAD. And then again, this is my personal experience, and I'm not suggesting any kind of medications. I'm always against medication. And again, you should always talk to someone very professional who has learned did his PG and stuff in mental health. You should always talk to a clinical psychiatrist before diagnosing yourself with anything like that. You should again go for therapies. And this was my personal experience. And the focus on today's session was on sunlight, SAD, and sunlight. So, why sunlight is important, why we have certain traditions in our in culture, and I have added few things regarding Ayurveda in that. I'd like to add one more thing, which is very important. In Ayurveda, we have uh, this regime called as Ritucharya. Ritucharya is changing of your habits before the beginning of a particular session season. एक किसी भी ऋतु के यानी किसी भी महीने के किसी भी विंटर समर या रेनी इनके शुरुआत से पहले ऐसे कुछ रूल्स फॉलो करने होते हैं या ऐसे कुछ हैबिचुअल चेंजेस लाने होते हैं, ऐसे कुछ व्यवहार में चेंजेस लाने होते हैं जिससे कि वो ऋतु तुम्हें बहुत ज्यादा अफेक्ट ना करे और उसके साथ ढलना आसान हो जाए. तो आयुर्वेदा में ऋतुचर्या करके एक पूरा सेशन है जो हमें डेफिनेटली समझना चाहिए, फॉलो करना चाहिए, जिससे काफी हेल्प होगी. इट इज just a community medicine we can study it in. So basically this was all about that. It was about sunlight, it was about good habits, it was about how to prevent yourself from even winter blues. So I'd like to conclude now. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Kanchan. And we are at the end of another amazing session. It's time to sing the GroWill jingle like we do always and finish the session. GroWill Foundation is a voluntary youth organization, and we are based out of Nagpur and various other cities. We are involved in creating modular urban food forests in all cities across India, and our dream is to grow 1 lakh urban jungles by 2025 and bring back greenery in the cities, bring back nature in the lives of everyone around us, and understand that nature deficit disorder has entered all our lives of all the people who are living in concrete jungles. And it is a constant endeavor of GroWill Foundation to help all those who are associated with the foundation to make themselves more emotionally strong, physically sound, and all of us are working together to create lot of jungles in the coming years ahead. I thank everybody for being so patient listeners today. ग्रोविल फाउंडेशन का जो जिंगल है वो एक दरख्त के नीचे बैठे बैठे मैं एक दोपहर को कंपोज किया. If you're short of ideas, just chill. Here we are, the team of GroWill. Where there's will, there's always GroWill. GroWill, GroWill, GroWill. GroWill, GroWill, GroWill. Good night, everybody. To
Good
join
night.
GroWill Foundation as a volunteer, please send a WhatsApp on the number which is scrolling down there on the screen. I want to thank Dr. Kanchan Nikam for coming on our show tonight and delivering this amazing talk. I want to thank everybody at Team GroWill, all our tech team, all our social media warriors, all our WhatsApp bouncers to help us bring series after series of amazing talks to you. Thank you again, Kanchan.
Thank you,
Thank you
everybody,
so
for
much, sir, for
watching.
having me, and thank you so much, everyone, for listening, or those who are going to listen to it. Thank you.
Thank you. It is 59 minutes, 51 seconds, and we are ending the show on time. Good
Yeah.
night.
Good night.